Thanks. This is not without a reason. European Marine Board is a European organization that is quite important in setting research agendas at the European level and at national level in the European Union. And I just want to explain briefly how it is organized and what it does, and also what can be expected from the European Marine Board in the next few months, from a publication point of view. Very importantly, today, at this meeting, we will have the launch of a science policy brief that the European Marine Board has produced in collaboration with colleagues in the United States of America about the long-term effects of climate change. So this will be launched today, and you will be the first in the world to see this. So I think it's not unimportant that it gives you some information about where this is coming from. The European Marine Board is an NGO. It's non-governmental, but it is a partnership that groups all the major national marine research institutes, the marine funding organizations, and inter-university consortia that are active in Europe. It's a pan-European organization, members in all Europe, as you can see here, with these three categories that are well represented, and typically, or ideally I should say, we have 3 members per country: the main research institute, the main funding agency for marine research, and the main inter-university consortium with regard to marine sciences. In Belgium, we are organized slightly differently than the typical constellation because we are a complicated country. We have a representative from the federal government, the Federal Science Administration that funds the North Sea program. We have the Fund for Scientific Research, Flanders, that gives delegation to the Flanders Marine Institute, to myself, to attend the meetings. And we have the FNRS, the French-speaking counterpart of FWO, that gives delegation to Université de Liège to represent Belgium on the board. So we have 3 members of Belgium, next to 31 other members, not only European Commission, but the Council of Europe countries. So that means that Turkey is also a member, and we are open for membership from non-EU countries, but that have membership of the Council of Europe. 34 member organizations at the moment. We meet twice a year. I'm the chair at the moment, by the way. So we meet twice, once in spring, once in autumn, somewhere in Europe. We have an executive committee that has 8 members. And very importantly, a couple of years ago, the secretariat, the membership, has decided to move its secretariat from Strasbourg in France, where it was co-located with the European Science Foundation, to Ostend, to our building in Ostende, where VLIZ is also located. There is also a demo stand of the European Marine Board in the demo session area. European Science Foundation is history. Doesn't exist anymore. Has been reformed to something new that was not interesting anymore for the Marine Board to be associated with. So we became an independent organization with a new legal entity. It's quite technical, but it means that we have autonomy in Europe, and we have our own way of doing business. This is the central mission of the European Marine Board, providing a platform for the member organizations to develop common priorities. We develop joint research agendas for marine science. We reflect on what marine science should look like in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Advancing marine research, so we lobby for marine science, for marine research at different levels, especially the European level. And we want to be active on the science policy interface, to bridge the gap between science and policy. This is quite a complex graph, but it shows you that we provide advice by producing different kinds of papers, position papers, vision documents, statements. We organize conferences and forums that are well attended. We try to impact the European research area research programming, not only at the European level, but also at the national level. We lobby for capacities and infrastructures that are necessary to do our science. And we look into all issues related to seas and ocean management, always advocating the voice of science to underpin the policies that are being developed at the international and national levels. Our main targets are the European Commission, the European Parliament, but also national policymakers and program managers, the science community in general, yourselves, and the public at large, the general public. Plenary meetings twice a year, well attended. We organize for specific topics expert working groups that are peopled by the members, that they find the best experts in their country and then bring these to our working groups, and these working groups then produce these documents that have a lot of impact with the policymakers. We organize forums, events in the European Parliament. We organized a series of Eurasian conferences that you may have heard of, but maybe not, because if you're a young scientist, you may not have heard of this, because they are organized only every 3 or 4 years. But they come with declarations. We had an Aberdeen declaration, we had a Galway declaration, we had an Austin declaration from the 2010 conference, and we had a Rome declaration in 2014. The next conference will be organized probably in Brussels in 2018. We also have direct engagement with decision makers. Here is Commissioner Carmen Uvella talking to our executive director. We look at different hot topics that emerge. So our members in the plenary meetings tell us what they think is important as an emerging issue for marine science at the European level, and then we tackle this. And we have good procedures to decide what kind of instrument we will use to tackle certain issues. And then we make publications. They are all downloadable from our website. We have recent publications on marine biotechnology, on climate change, its relation with the oceans, of course, marine pollution, marine biodiversity, microbial ecology, marine protected areas, oceans and human health. I'll come back to this publication later. Submerged heritage, the underwater cultural heritage, and quite a recent one on deep sea research. So as you can see, these are all the hot topics that you're all working on. The big themes, the societal challenges and opportunities that dictate the marine research agenda at quite a high level in Europe, but that also trickles down to the national priorities that are being set by the different funding agencies in Belgium and other European countries. Navigating the Future is our most important publication. It's more or less the blueprint of what marine science should be about for the next 5 to 10 years. It's a visionary document, a horizon scanning document that tells us what we should invest in the next years to manage these seas and oceans for the well-being of humankind. Setting the science agenda, the policy agenda for Europe, but also at an international level, very well received outside of Europe also. Last version, Navigating the Future 4, was published in 2013. Had several chapters that reflect the great societal challenges that we are facing at the moment. And we are now starting with the process of producing a new Navigating the Future, the 5th edition, that will be published in 2018. It will be a different form than number 4, but we don't know yet what it will contain exactly, of course, because this brainstorming, this horizon scanning should still take place, but it started. What is coming now from the Marine Board? The first publication we will see soon, the full position paper, is a paper on training the 21st century marine professionals. Professor Magda Vinks of Ghent University was the chair of this working group, so it has a large Belgian input. Will be published in the first quarter of this year. There were also in this first quarter of this year a publication on citizen science. You all heard about citizen science, an upcoming way of involving citizens in the scientific enterprise. And there are also great opportunities there for the marine sciences. And this working group, where Jan Mees of VLIZ is a member of, has looked at what opportunities there are for citizens to be involved in producing marine observations, marine data, marine science. And it also reflects on the pitfalls that this brings with it, of course. So there should be a careful way of dealing with this booming new business of citizen science also in the marine realm. A working group that is starting is a working group that will look at the EOS, is the European Ocean Observing System. It's a very important concept. It is the wish of the scientific community and of the policymakers to have a system in place that observes the oceans in an operational way, so that operations at sea, activities at sea, but also managing sustainably all activities at sea will be better organized in the future. This observing system is taking shape quite smoothly with regard to physical, chemical, sedimentary data, for example, sea bottom data, but there's still a lot of gaps in the operational ecology, the observation of biodiversity and the likes. Although this is very important in the framework of the Marine Strategy Directive of the European Commission. So there is a lot of work to be done on the biological observations to add to the European Ocean Observing System. And a new working group is starting just now to look at this and to provide strong advice to the European Commission on how they can take this further in collaboration with the member states. Finally, what we will also see very soon are two science commentaries or policy briefs. The first one I will not say anything about because later Angel of the Secretariat of the European Marine Board in the demo session will give a 1-minute pitch about this. But it's a very important paper that will be launched today. This is the one that I mentioned before. And it's about this ticking time bomb that climate change and sea level rise presents for humanity. It basically says that actions we take now or in the next 10 years will be important for millennia to come. And that's a message that was published a couple of years ago in a very high-ranking scientific journal, but now gets a second life through this policy brief of the European Marine Board. A second hot topic that we tackle is the issue of decommissioning man-made structures, oil rigs, for example, in the North Sea. There's a big political issue there, a big economic budgetary issue, and an environmental issue. And we are persuaded of the fact that we need a lot of science to deal with this in a rational way to the benefit of European society. That's something that we will see coming out in the next few weeks. And then just to give you an idea about what that, it's not all societal challenges and blue economy stories, but in the next few weeks we will be starting up activities, for example, on hydrothermal vents and the origins of life. What research, how far are we, what do we know already, and what research do we still need to finally solve the riddle of the origin of life, but we are progressing quite fastly. We will have a joint working group with the European Space Board to look at oceans, at planets and moons elsewhere in the galaxy. A very exciting topic where we can combine the knowledge and the research needs of the space community and the ocean community. They have a lot to learn from each other, and they have complementary expertise that can bring the both business to a higher level. And we will also see a document on shelf slope stability and geohazards for the European continental shelf. Also something that you will see coming out this year. Summary slide, European Marine Board is something as an early career scientist that you should watch out for. If you see documents of the European Marine Board, you can trust their quality. They are carried, if I can say so, by the mainstream and the top of the marine research community, interdisciplinary in Europe. The mixed membership model makes it happen. So we have the universities there, we have the research. institutes and the funding agencies. So the funding agencies can pick up these ideas and put them in the funding mechanism immediately. That makes it happen, that makes that we have a big impact, that the ideas are picked up by the funding agencies. And we are truly interdisciplinary. We know that this is a very interdisciplinary audience, multidisciplinary, and we can say that European Marine Board also reflects this multidisciplinary character of the studying of the oceans and the seas in Europe and beyond. Okay, that's all I wanted to say as an alternative introduction to this day. But I think it's relevant for you to learn more about the Marine Board. Visit their website. You can download all the publications that I have pointed you to, and the new ones, one will be launched today, and the others will come soon. Okay.